Have you ever stared out at the vast, endless ocean and wondered, what if it all just disappeared? What if one day we woke up to find the oceans completely gone? It sounds like something out of a science fiction movie, but let's dive into this thought experiment. What would a world without oceans actually look like? The answer, in short, is terrifying. It would be a planet we wouldn't recognize, and one where humanity's survival would be pushed to the absolute brink. First, let's talk about the most immediate and catastrophic effect: the complete collapse of the water cycle. The oceans are the heart of our planet's climate system, a massive engine that drives weather patterns across the globe. Through evaporation, they send trillions of tons of water vapor into the atmosphere. This vapor forms clouds, which then travel over land and give us rain. Without the oceans, this entire process would grind to a halt. The skies would become eerily clear day after day. Rain would become a distant memory. Rivers would shrink and then vanish. Lakes would dry up into cracked, barren basins. Almost the entire planet, from the Amazon to the Siberian taiga, would slowly but surely transform into a vast, unrelenting desert. With the water cycle gone, our climate would spiral out of control. Oceans are incredible thermal regulators. They absorb a huge amount of the sun's heat, storing it in their depths and distributing it around the world through currents. This is why coastal areas usually have milder climates than inland regions. Without this massive aquatic buffer, Earth's temperatures would swing to wild extremes. Imagine days where the sun beats down relentlessly, pushing temperatures to scorching, unbearable highs, far hotter than anything we experience today. But the moment the sun sets, all that heat would radiate away into space. The nights would become bone-chillingly cold, plummeting to deep freeze temperatures, much like the deserts on Mars. Life would be trapped between a furnace and a freezer every single day. But the environmental chaos wouldn't stop there. The sheer weight of the oceans, we're talking about quadrillions of tons of water, exerts immense pressure on the Earth's crust. This pressure helps maintain a delicate tectonic balance. If you suddenly remove that weight, the crust would rebound. This unloading would trigger a geological nightmare. We would likely see a massive and unpredictable increase in earthquakes and volcanic eruptions all over the planet. The ground beneath our feet would become terrifyingly unstable. Volcanoes, both on land and on the newly exposed seafloor, would spew ash and gas into the atmosphere, further destabilizing the climate and blocking out the sun. The planet would be in a constant state of geological upheaval. And what would we see where the oceans once were? We would be standing on the edge of a new, alien world. The ocean floor, a realm of mystery we've only just begun to explore, would be laid bare. We would see landscapes more dramatic than anything on land. The Mariana Trench, a scar deeper than Mount Everest, is tall. The Mid-Atlantic Ridge, a colossal mountain range winding its way around the globe, and countless underwater volcanoes, or seamounts, rising like silent sentinels from the abyss. But this new world wouldn't be a wonderland. It would be a dead, sterile wasteland. The entire ocean floor would be covered in a thick crust of salt and mineral deposits. It would be a barren, hyper-arid desert stretching for millions of square miles, reflecting the sunlight with a blinding glare. The impact on life, as you can imagine, would be nothing short of an apocalypse. The most immediate victims would be the countless creatures that call the ocean home. Over 70% of all life on Earth exists in the oceans. From the smallest plankton to the great blue whale, almost every single marine species would perish. It would be the greatest mass extinction event our planet has ever seen, happening almost overnight. The newly exposed seabeds would be a global graveyard, littered with the remains of trillions of sea creatures. This marine catastrophe would trigger a domino effect across the entire global food chain. Billions of people around the world depend on seafood as a primary source of protein. That food source would be gone instantly. But it gets worse. Remember the lack of rain? That means agriculture on land would collapse. Without water for irrigation, crops would wither and die. Livestock would perish from thirst. The global food supply would be completely wiped out, leading to famine on a scale unimaginable in human history. But perhaps the most insidious threat would be the very air we breathe. Did you know that over half of the oxygen in our atmosphere is produced by tiny marine organisms called phytoplankton? Through photosynthesis, These microscopic powerhouses are constantly replenishing our oxygen supply. Without the oceans, the phytoplankton would be gone, the planet's primary oxygen factories would shut down. Over time, the oxygen levels in the atmosphere would begin to plummet. With every breath, the air would become thinner, less life-giving. Most animal life, including us, would slowly begin to suffocate. The sky wouldn't just be empty of clouds, the air itself would become unbreathable. As the planet transforms, the air quality would become toxic in other ways. The vast dry seabeds would be scoured by relentless winds. This would kick up colossal, continent-sized storms of dust and salt. These storms would rage across the globe, blanketing everything in a fine, corrosive powder. The air would be thick with abrasive particles, making it dangerous to breathe without filtration and turning daylight into a perpetual, dusty twilight. The world would become a hazy, salty, and suffocating version of its former self. So, what would happen to humanity in this desolate new world? Civilization as we know it would crumble. Without water, food, or breathable air, our complex societies would be unsustainable. Governments would collapse. The world's population would plummet. Where would the few survivors go? Their only hope might be to retreat to the most remote, resilient pockets of the planet. Perhaps underground shelters, shielded from the extreme temperatures and toxic air, or maybe high-tech, self-sustaining domes built near the last dwindling sources of fresh water, like meltwater from glaciers in the highest mountain ranges or deep underground aquifers. If any of those even remain accessible, humanity would be reduced to a handful of survivors, clinging to existence in isolated bubbles on a dead planet. Ultimately, a world without oceans is a world without life as we know it. It would be a hot, dry, geologically unstable desert planet with an unbreathable atmosphere and violent temperature swings. It's a stark reminder of how absolutely critical our oceans are. They are not just big bodies of water, they are the lifeblood of our planet, the cradle of life, the engine of our climate, and the source of the very air we breathe. This thought experiment shows us that protecting our oceans isn't just an environmental issue, it's a matter of our own survival. Thank you so much for watching. If this video gave you a new appreciation for our amazing blue planet, please hit that like button. And consider subscribing for more journeys into the fascinating world of what if. Let me know in the comments what other mind-bending scenarios you'd like us to explore next. Stay curious, and we'll see you in the next video.